This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Franny's Pharmacy.
Now more than ever, it's important that our society focuses more on our mental and physical health. At Franny's Pharmacy, the team is committed to their community's need of being happy, healthy, and stress-free. Come learn how Franny's Pharmacy can assist you in a clean, professional environment with their expert bud tenders that are excited to educate you about the benefits of their lab-tested, DEA-certified CBD products. Franny's Pharmacy also offers wholesale and franchise opportunities. Visit their website at frannysPharmacy.com, and that's pharmacy with an F, and use the promo code CANAConnect10 for an exclusive Cannabinoid Connect discount. Again, that's Franny's Pharmacy with an F.com and use the promo code CANAConnect10 for an exclusive Cannabinoid Connect discount. Franny's Pharmacy, putting the farm back into pharmacy.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by TexaKana Health.
Hey cannabis consumers, have you ever consumed a cannabis product thinking it'll make you feel a certain way, but then it doesn't? Don't you wish you had a clear understanding of your own DNA so that you could make informed decisions about what type of cannabis products interact best with your system? Well, now you can with EndoDNA. EndoDNA is a simple DNA test that maps your entire endocannabinoid system and then matches that summary with a specific cannabinoid ratio and terpene profile that best aligns with your unique genotype. Imagine being armed with personal information when visiting a dispensary. You'll have the knowledge and power and capability to purchase products that best align with your genotype. Visit their website to purchase the EndoDNA Collection Kit and Endo Decoded Report at endodna.com/products and use the promo code CONNECT15 for a 20% discount. Again, that's endodna.com/products and use the promo code CONNECT15 for a 20% discount. The future of cannabinoid therapeutics is here with EndoDNA. Rado, what's going on, man?
Hey Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you again, man. It was really nice to meet you. Yeah, it was nice to meet you at the Dallas Delta 8, Delta 9 psychedelic medicine conference recently took place, man. And I got to tell you, your brownie, TexaKana Organics brownie, is top notch. I really, really enjoyed eating that Delta. Was it Delta 8 or Delta 9?
Delta 9. So we try to keep it as close to the THC as possible. Delta 8 is a good option, but within the Delta 9 is the THC that people know and they're familiar with, so they feel more comfortable.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thanks again for that, man. And
You're welcome.
When we talked and when we met, I remember you talking a little bit about your background and how you grew up in Bulgaria. Is that right?
Yes. So I was born and raised in Bulgaria, and I went to school. That's where I got, I guess, my love for cannabis. We started, I guess, experimenting when I was in freshman in high school. I was 15 at the time. Me and my friends were into the music festivals and clubbing and all that. So one thing led to another, and I got introduced to cannabis back in the end of the 90s. So that was my, and immediately, like, I kind of fell in love with the plant, what it can do for you as far as like your mindset and all the positivity that comes with it.
Especially at shows like that, man. I mean, talk about, unlocking your creativity and there's a lot of production with those shows, right? There's lots of lights, there's lots of graphic animated imagery on the screens and bass visuals, and music. Yeah. So it's just a perfect setting, it seems like, for a regular cannabis user.
Yeah. And I think that, music and cannabis just go hand in hand, it's, and you can see this through the art of Bob Marley, Jimi Hendrix, and all these people that, they enjoy cannabis, Louis Armstrong, all the jazz musicians.
Right.
It's been, it's a connection that, it makes sense. Like you're there, you feel the music, it's a little bit different. So yeah, that's how I got introduced. And lucky for me, that was a very positive experience. And, that kind of like led me through my, all my high school years and in college to keep experimenting, to
Yeah.
keep enjoying. But yeah, so I, after high school, I went to college and I graduated college, and I've always thought about, I wanted to experience different cultures, right? My country is a small country in Southeast Europe. It's right next to Greece, if you can picture it on the map. But I always thought about myself as person of the world, right? I wanted to experience different cultures and different places and just see, what's out there, right?
Yeah.
So I after college I decided to. Well, I've been to the States for a summer, but after college I
Where
decided I
at?
wanted to move.
Where at when you first visited? Where'd you go?
So I went to Ohio, Ohio, but there was a little island in the lake between the Erie Lake in between Canada and USA, and it was kind of like a party island, almost like a Key West kind of feel.
Yeah.
Very much Margaritaville, laid back. So I kind of like that
Nice.
experience. But then like I said, I decided to move here permanently, and I got to come to Houston, Texas, and I kind of liked it a lot. I moved out and then I came back, but yeah, the first time I've moved to Houston was 2006. So it's
Wow.
been a while.
Houston, Texas from Bulgaria.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
that had to have been, I mean, like you said, you had a taste of the States being in Ohio and experiencing that type of party island where the vibe was chill and awesome. I mean, what was your experience like, say, that first year, transplanted in Houston, Texas?
It was different, of course. The culture again is different, but what it helps me a lot is Houston is a very diverse city. We have big communities from South America, Africa, Asia, Europe. So it's a very much of a melting pot, which I love about Houston, and the culture and the food is. I mean, it's like you can have food from all around the world, and it's just amazing.
Right, right. No, exactly. Yeah, and it's becoming more like that in bigger cities in Texas. I mean, obviously I'm based in Dallas, you're in Houston. We're seeing more nomads come in, people from different cities, living in the space, but then outside from different countries as well. I mean, it's just kind of a whole new melting pot, especially Austin is another
Yes,
place.
yes. I love going to Austin, spending time there. It's the vibe of Austin is different than the rest of Texas.
It is.
And you cannot have. I mean, Houston. It's I love Houston, and but it's just different. It's different than Austin, and that's okay. Being different is okay.
It's okay. Yeah. What I do like that I wish Dallas and Houston had that Austin has is their lenient cannabis laws, right? I think they just had decriminalization up for a vote as of
Yeah,
recent.
like 2 days ago,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And yes, that went well. So that's good news.
Yep.
And hopefully, yeah, hopefully we'll lead Houston and Dallas to join pretty soon.
Absolutely. So, Rado, going back, so you're in Houston, and it didn't start with cannabis first, right? I mean, it was you graduated from college in Bulgaria, I believe, in was it accounting and finance?
Yes. So my background is accounting and finance, totally different.
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, you worked for pretty big firms in the US after college.
Yeah, so at that time, I thought that I'm gonna be, corporate guy. I'm gonna, climb the ranks and just, have a career in finance and accounting. But soon I realized that's not something that I want for myself, for my life. That's not how I want to spend my life, right? So that was a pretty big change. But the experience that you get is tremendous. I mean, you get to work with a lot of different people again. Different vibe, different atmosphere in the different companies. But you take the best, and then you do what you want to do, right?
Yeah, that's the perfect outlook. And I can relate to that experience because, I mean, while I still work in the corporate environment, I mean, I had to really talk with myself at some point in my career and say, okay, like climbing the ladder all the way to be the CEO or the VP. I mean, I don't know if that's in the cards because I don't know if I want to go that path. right? That's a lot of, I mean, there's just a whole other world when it comes to dedicating and committing to raise up the corporate ladder, as I'm sure you encountered early on in your career.
Right.
Uh, and so, I mean, like you, it's kind of like you took a step back and you said, okay, well, what do I want to do now that I can make this decision? Right. It's still early
Right.
in my life. And I applaud you for that, man. I mean, there's not a lot of people that will take a leap of faith or take a risk and pivot into a new industry. So when you were going through that process, I mean, how did you internally, deal with that transition? And then what was it like with, say, like your parents or people that were close to you at the time, when you were thinking about moving into cannabis after living in Houston, Texas, right, which is a super
Right.
prohibitive state?
True. True. Well, first of all, I mean, I wouldn't do it any differently, honestly. I love what I do. Like I received an email maybe 2, 3 weeks ago of somebody that his husband has his no her husband her husband has a Parkinson's disease, and it was like one of our products was helping for that, and that's that's what we want, right?
Right.
So this kind of feedback, this kind of um,
There's testimonies, those.
testimony, yeah,
Yeah.
it's what it's why we work, right? It's what we want to do, and it just gives you a different kind of motivation during the day, right? To be the best that you can be, because people obviously like they it helps, right? So
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
biggest factor.
I mean, I've had, yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And I've had people on this podcast that have echoed what you've said. And like, they kind of sit back and some of these patients that come in, they're like looking at them as they're like the ultimate savior. Right. And of course, they don't want to be put in that bucket, but they understand the value that they're providing to these people because they need this medicine and this treatment, regardless of what ailment it is that they're going through.
Right. And this is the thing about cannabis. It's I'll be the first one to admit cannabis is not for everybody, but it's something for somebody,
Right.
and that's the very important part that people hopefully will change their perception and their mindset about cannabis. Is it's not for everybody, but it's gonna be that product for somebody that is gonna make a life difference.
Right. Totally. Yeah. And I mean, so that's evident, right? On the customer side, on the patient side, where the efficacy is there. You're hearing the testimonials every day. What's it like working in the hemp industry, right, within Texas, where hemp is federally legal and it's a new industry that's burgeoning compared to something that's more established, like where you came from, which was accounting and finance?
Right, right. Well, first of all, I want to say, a big thank you and a shout out to everybody in Texas that is in this industry, because it's not easy. I'll tell you that. It's very challenging, of course. Being an illegal state, there is a lot of rules and regulations. They're not in our favor.
Mhm.
It's taxation is crazy. It's so many different things that work against us, right? And everybody thinks that going in this industry it's like this green rush and it's like money everywhere, and it's not. That's not it. That's not reality. It's a very hard process to be in Texas right now, but we are here to set up a foundation, and eventually that's gonna hopefully grow into something big. But um, it's challenging, but it's rewarding, very rewarding.
Mhm. Well, let's talk about your company. I mean, TexaKana Organics. I mean, you talked about kind of what kept you motivated and going, right? Hearing from these patients and them talking firsthand about how the plant has helped them in their life and improved their daily life. Uh, but I mean, is there more to the story? Like, how did it all come about? I understand you're a co-founder, right?
Yes, so we co-founded the company back in 2020. It was right in the middle of the pandemic, so it's just one of those things that kind of like fell in place at the right time, at the right moment, the right thing, and it wasn't all like a great. I mean, it's not a beautiful story. Like I said, I've been introduced to the plant many years ago, and I've had my time enjoying the plant. But then 2 years ago, back in 2020, my dog got a cancer. It had a cancer that was not treatable. It was no chemotherapy was not an option. So of course I wanted to make him as comfortable as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I switched his diet. I started giving him natural CBD, one of the big natural supplements. Also mushrooms, different types of mushrooms, and I just saw the reward, and again the difference that this plant makes. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just crazy. But being on both sides, being as a consumer, right, and also seeing firsthand that this plant can actually do very well for a lot of people and pets, right? um he gave him a lot of good days, and he had like a lot of those times that we got to spend that I'll cherish forever, and that I think I thank the plant for that. But
And,
that led into a lot of research, and that's how we got to that company decision, is because I did all the research about all the things that you can do with the plant, and I'm like, well, okay, well, that's what I want to do. I want to be a part of that change.
That's amazing. And I want to touch on more of that change, but I'd also want to say, so my wife and I, we just found out that our little doggy also has been diagnosed with cancer. And
I'm sorry, man.
yeah, and then thank you. And I'm sorry to hear about your dog as well. And I've mentioned to her like we should really consider, CBD and whatnot. So, and of course we're talking about it, but I definitely want to pick your brain and in terms of like what products you used and dosing and I mean all that kind of stuff because I really do think that it would enhance her life, little Lola. And for your dog, when you talk about it enhancing, was it a boy or a girl?
He was a boy. He was a golden retriever, about 12, 13 years old at the time. So
What was his name?
TJ,
PJ?
TJ with a T.
TJ.
Yes.
So yeah, so with TJ, I mean, how did it specifically enhance like on those days that were really good, like what was his temperament in terms of other bad days without
Right.
CBD?
So first of all, he had a cancer on the blood vessels. So that was the
Was it
the very
leukemia?
tragic. It was not leukemia. It's called HSA, which is
Okay.
hemosangiosarcoma. I can't even say that word, but it's cancer in the blood vessels, and it spreads to the different organs like the liver. So it was at the time that it was found, it was already too late. Like we couldn't save him. But it did give him, like I said, 3 months of quality life. There was days that, of course, he was moody and kind of like couldn't get up. But there was days that we went to the beach in Galveston, which is not the best beach, right? But it was just those times that it gives you a little bit of life.
Sure.
As far as the dosage, it's very, it depends on of course, the weight of the pet. And I also did CBD and CBG. Like I said, I did some Chinese mushrooms, some turkey tail. So a lot of different things. Changed his diet, started cooking for him. So a lot of little changes, but again, it's that quality of life that helped.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, it sounds like TJ went out the best way possible, man, because he had a great owner like you taking care of him.
Yes, yes, he was definitely, yeah, definitely my son.
That's great. Well, tell me more, Rado. So, I mean, as you're now, what, 2 years into uh, operating TexaKana Organics, what have you learned? What are you looking forward to, in the future? Of course, like you mentioned, the industry is a bit slow right now, and I guess, there's not a lot of enforcement of regulation. I'll say, which opens the doors and the floodgates for a lot of bad actors, which kind of saturates the market. But what's your take on what's happening, and what are you hoping to see?
So what I think is, this industry is, and I've been saying this, it's a new industry, but started thinking about it, it's really not a new industry. Cannabis has been around forever. It's just now becoming a legal industry, right? So first of all, we can take a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience from the legacy growers and the people that have, been in this industry. Again, we're legal, we're not so legal, right? But we can take a lot from that. And then what I want to see, of course, the biggest thing will be the change in people, in perception of people, and how they treat cannabis. Because, like you mentioned, like when I went from a corporate world to cannabis, people were like, well, what, how, why? So it's people still have that perception, not everybody, and it's changing, and that's what I want to see, is that change in society where you know it's normalized. It's a thing that can help you, can hurt you, but it's there, it's legal, it's not nobody gonna go jail for it. I mean, that's just crazy what how that plant became illegal. But that's a whole different story.
That's yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole that we get down.
Whole another podcast.
Well, and I'm curious to ask you the follow-up question on that point is like, how do you think we get there to normalizing cannabis?
Right. So I think the biggest challenge that we're facing in this industry, it's consumer education. And that's where I also wanted to give you a shout out, because that's the work that you do, spreading the word and getting like people that know what they're talking about to educate other people, right? So this is the biggest challenge, is the education. We need to be more educated. We need to educate more the people. They gotta know, what the harms are, what the goods are, what the whole experience. So that's what I want to see, is just change.
Change, and it starts with education. I really appreciate you saying that. I mean, that's really my goal. It's not, I don't have all the answers. I'm not the expert. I'm really new into this industry, 2020 entrant, just like you, and
Same here.
specifically in the cannabis space, or excuse me, the podcast space. But I want to bring people on that know what they're talking about, right? And we need to use these conversations to lessen the stigma and to start having a repository of data and information where we can kind of point back to and say, no, you're wrong on that. Let's look
Right.
back here, or let's really understand how this plant is helping others, because we have testimonials and we have anecdotal evidence that shows that. So conversations like this help, Rado, and you're the expert, out there doing it, and we're all learning every day, of course, but it's commendable work, and I want to leave the floor to you before we wrap up. I mean, what else is on your mind, or what do you want to leave the audience with before we go?
Um, Again, going back to education, I think we as people in this industry, we have a responsibility to educate people, right? To give them the right information. I've seen, again, there's a lot of challenges in this industry with being, advertising. You can't really advertise much. But I think the biggest thing is just like not labeling correctly different products, like saying that they're gonna relax or focus, or they're named after how you're gonna feel. And the thing is, like, cannabis affects everybody differently.
Right.
Everybody's endocannabinoid system is different. So we like I just wanna say to everybody that is industry and it's trying to make it, is to make sure they educate, and that they teach people pretty much information that they know and that it's reliable, instead of confusing people and then tell them they're going to feel a certain way. And sometimes that's not the case, right?
Yeah, I mean, those false claims, or what is it called? Like mood-based advertising, where you're kind of leading with the effect of the substance rather than like what it is. That can get dangerous, right? Because to your point, I mean, we all have different genetic makeup, and this plant affects people differently. And with education, to your point, the more we understand the plant, the cannabinoids within them, the terpenes, the flavonoids, all that mixed together, and how that affects us personally, that's where I think we'll start to get somewhere, right?
Yes, I think that's very important. As far as future trends, I also wanted to mention that I think edibles and drinks are going to be something that is going to take off. Um, Pre-rolls and vapes are still rising as far as the trends, I think, right now. So I mean, those are the things that they're gonna shape the future of cannabis. Also, man-made cannabinoids. It's another thing that I've seen people are starting to do. So it's just science. It's amazing the things that you can do with combining nature and science.
Science is a wild animal, and
Yes,
to your
indeed.
point, to your point about man-made cannabinoids, I mean, we're seeing them all over Texas, right? With Delta
Yes.
8 and HHC, and I've said this before. I mean, those moves just indicate the appetite for the psychoactive properties of THC, and I really don't believe that they would be as prevalent if it was just legal in the state of Texas.
Of course not. Like the states that New Mexico, for example, I mean, and of course, Colorado, California. I mean, you don't have THCO and HHC and THCP. You have THC and CBD. It's a one-to-one. Only THC, only CBD. But yeah, I mean, it's the people, yeah, and that's what we realize also. Another reality in this industry is like, in the beginning we started with a lot of CBD heavy products, CBN, CBG, and then that switch into people want THC. I mean, that's a fact, and THC helps too. It's not just one cannabinoid; it's the entourage effect, right? It's got all the flavonoids, the terpenes. The terpenes are very important. I mean, um, it's still mind-boggling how people go to a store and they ask for the highest THC product that they have. It's which I understand, because also on the other side, right, you build up your tolerance, so you need
Right.
something more to get the same effect. But still, the terpenes is something that changes the whole experience, and that's why I'm saying labeling makes a big difference, and the ingredients, of course, in the products, they make a big difference.
Totally. Yeah. No, there is that trend right now where people are chasing the THC potency, and that alcohol analogy, and I've used it before. I actually caught myself because I thought more about it the other day. And so like your average drinker doesn't like seek out the highest level of liquor, right?
Exactly.
Right. But I will say, to be fair, what I noticed that I do is when I drink craft beer, like I know what type of craft beer I like, whether it's like a Hefeweizen or a Belgian white or whatever it is. But I then look at the potency from the options of the style of beer. So, and I like the higher
It's a
end.
factor. It's a
So
big factor.
so
Yes,
it's
for
a
sure.
factor, but I don't lead with it, right? Is that
Yes, yes, yes.
yes? Okay. So there you go. You clarified it for me. There you go. And I want to go back to your point about trends. So beverages and edibles. So TexaKana Organics. I mean, I know you guys are messing with the edibles with that amazing brownie that I tried. What other products are you rolling out on the edibles or beverage front?
Yeah, so that's what we are concentrating into, the edible space and beverages soon. Um, but we are actually introducing our chocolate line uh, end of this week, beginning of next week. So it's a bean to bar craft chocolate making. It's not a and the brownie that you had too. It's a craft product. It's not, we don't get a box of brownies and we just make a bunch of brownies. So it's the craft, it's the ingredients that you put in. Again, it's the where you get your cacao beans from, um what how you mix them, like all the equipment, it makes a big difference. And of course the final product. So the chocolate line is what we're very excited about. It's coming up next week. Of course, we have gummies and tinctures, and we're looking to add some drinks to the lineup pretty soon as well.
I like that. You stick to your core competency, man. The chocolate line. That's really where it's at, because you mentioned it and you nailed it. I mean, all the ingredients that you source for those chocolate products are high quality and natural and organic and amazing. So, oh,
Exactly.
the doggies are getting crazy.
It's okay. Yeah, I have a dog too. After TJ passed, my wife came at the same time I met my wife. So it was a 2020 was a crazy year for me.
Wow. I met your
But
wife actually at the,
yes, you did, you
yeah,
did. We
she's
actually we haven't
lovely.
we married officially, but we're about to have a wedding in Mexico next month. So I'm excited about that.
Nice. Congratulations. I got married in Mexico also.
Yeah, that's a great place.
It's a great place, man. Where at? Are you guys like near Cancun area? Like,
Yeah, it's called Isla Mujeres. It's
okay.
an island off of Cancun. We like the vibe. It's a lot more chill than Cancun. The beaches are just pristine, white sand, blue water, and again that little town vibe, little island.
Yeah.
It makes a very good place and a setting.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm so happy for you, Rado. Congratulations again. And
Thank you, thank
not just on the wedding, but all the success you've seen thus far in a short amount of time in this tough industry in Texas. And yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm glad that we could make this work. Thank you for being patient with me as we
you. It's my pleasure.
had to reschedule a couple of times, but I definitely want to have you on again, man, as things, develop and start to really bolster and grow here in Texas. So
Yeah, of course. This is just the beginning. Even though it's not a new industry, but it is the beginning of an industry.
that's right. Well, tell everybody where they can find your website and social media channels if they want to learn more.
Yes, so it's Texakana Organics, not Texarkana, like the city, but it's Texakana Organics. It everywhere: Instagram, Facebook. We have a Twitter now. It's TikTok. The website is texakanaorganics.com. So it's yeah, everything is Texakana Organics. And
Perfect.
we're trying to not just to make a good product, but we also want to see the community, right? So we want to be a local company that we get the community to get together and enjoy our products. And yeah, edibles is what we do.
Love it. Thank you so much, Rado. I'll be sure to put those links in the YouTube description box so people can find y'all very easily.
Sounds good, Kevin.
All right. Well, thank you so much again. And thank you all for listening. Until
Thank
next
you.
time. Bye.
Bye.